You know, we usually underestimate how competitive the shooters market can be because so many studios develop these shooter games, free-to-play live service games, and they majority of them die out. But that's just business. That's just how the industry is. Only a few are ever going to reach the top, and a few more could really be there to just do enough and sustain themselves enough with their player base. But you know, it's also a balance of you don't want to just copy your competitor. You want to do something different and unique and distinct and really stand out from the crowd. We look at a great example such as Marvel Rivals that came out in December and honestly wowed people. Before that, people's perception of Marvel Rivals, oh, this is just another Overwatch clone. Except it did enough to really be different in a lot of ways, you know. New features, tons of content that's coming out consistently, much faster than Overwatch. And it's even forced Overwatch 2 to now bring in features of their own and even loot boxes and yada yada. Good competition is always great for players because we get more out of those experiences. And Spectre Divide was actually a great example of a game that knew how saturated that market was, but tried to deliver something very different. It went for this 3v3 shooter type of model, but the biggest take was that players control two Spectre agents that they can maneuver across the map. It did have a lot of similarities to Counter-Strike and as well as Valorant, but this one unique aspect of where you can switch between agents was something that really was unique to Spectre Divide. And I do remember when it did come out, it made waves. I remember jumping in with my friends and we tried it for a few weekends. We had quite a great time with it. But now, unfortunately, 6 months after its release back in September 2024, Spectre Divide is shutting down. And only a few weeks after arriving on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, this is unfortunate. So let's get into this. Developer Mountaintop Studios is also closing its doors, marking a quick and unfortunate end for the game. The news was confirmed by the Mountaintop CEO Nate Mitchell, who stated that despite early optimism, the game didn't attract enough players or revenue to stay afloat. And although the game had around 400,000 players in its first week and a peak concurrent player base, a player count of about 10,000, the numbers quickly dwindled. Mountaintop stretched its funding as far as it could, but in the end, it couldn't secure enough support, whether through a publisher, investment, or acquisition to keep the game running. And so as a result, Spectre Divide will be shutting down within the next 30 days. And any in-game purchases made since Season 1 launch will be refunded. So, why did Spectre Divide fail so quickly, 6 months after its launch? Well, first off, while the game had an intriguing concept, its unique duality system that allowed players to control two characters, or two Spectre agents, it just couldn't hold the attention of players in the long run. I mean, I'm someone who could admit that even with my group of friends, it's somewhat the novelty wore off pretty quickly. And a market for live service games where things are extremely competitive and even with fresh mechanics, it's hard to maintain momentum when other similar games fail to capture a broad enough audience. Also, Spectre Divide wasn't able to build that loyal player base that many live service games need to thrive. But with most multiplayer games relying heavily on active player communities, once that interest fades away, it's tough to recover. The industry also in a rough patch right now, with a lot of big budget games struggling to stay relevant. You know, we've had things like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League shutting down, cutting out its service. Concord shut down that whole studio and has forced Sony to just cut down on live services altogether. And so it makes it even harder for smaller games like Spectre Divide to succeed. And I'd say another factor to the game's failure could be the timing. The team behind Spectre Divide faced major challenges from the start, including funding issues. Despite reports of being able to support the game for a while, they couldn't keep up with the costs. And in a saturated market, it's easy for a game to get lost in the shuffle. Additionally, the industry's recent trend of live service games shutting down quickly, including games like X Defiance by Ubisoft, shows how tough it is for free-to-play shooters to succeed these days, even if they have solid gameplay mechanics to begin with. And so, in a weird turn of events, recently, a rival studio from the publisher behind Marvel Rivals have come out with Fragpunk, which is it's a free-to-play hero shooter with an interesting mechanic where you pick cards that will change the rules of every round of the game. And they posted a message on their social media that was seen by many people, and it was kind of a jab towards Mountaintop and their announcement to shut down their studio, which kind of stirred up some unnecessary drama. This post was slammed by Mountaintop team members, including producer, who called out the tone, especially since both studios are part of the same larger industry battling similar challenges. And despite Fragpunk having more active players since its release, it's clear that even big players in the market aren't immune to the struggles that live service games face. I think it was distasteful for the developers of Fragpunk to do that, especially because this is an industry where we should encourage as much innovation, as much, friendly competition, but not in that sort of way. And it's a shame that the studio and the game Spectre Divide couldn't keep up with high expectations of the live service model, and despite its innovative features and not being able to hold on to its player base. And it just shows how oversaturated this market is. And if you're in an oversaturated market with limited funds and no way to grab that large audience, it's easy to see how things can fall apart, just like how it fell for Spectre Divide. I do wish all the best to the developers behind this game. I hope they move on to more ambitious and more meaningful projects. And for what we had with Spectre Divide, I'd say it was a really great shot at something a little bit different than what we have in the shooter genre. And we'll see to the next free-to-play shooter game out there that's trying its best to beat the competition. Do share your thoughts and opinion and let me know right here on the Evening Buzz. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more news and highlights from the world of entertainment right here on the Evening Buzz.